Yeah, so we're here at the end of the conference. Like literally, I think people are packing up. We had to find this spot, because nothing else existed.
Yes.
But you had a booth here, and it was actually really interesting. And I wanted you to talk about it. So do you want to introduce yourself and what you were doing here at the Neural Interfaces Conference?
Sure. So I'm Joost Wagenaar. I'm one of the co-founders of Blackfynn, which is a company that was spun out of the University of Pennsylvania, where we develop cloud-based software for data management for the neurosciences. And we've been founded since 2015, and we kind of grew from about 4 people to now a group of 26 full-time employees.
Oh wow, 26, okay. And so cloud data storage for scientists, something like this. Do you want to talk a little about this? Why is this necessary? And what problem are you solving?
Yeah, so I think my background is in bioengineering. I did a PhD in bioengineering in Pittsburgh, and when I was doing that, I did a lot of animal work, and I realized that I spent a lot of my time on actually getting all the data in a place that I could start doing science and I can start asking questions. And I grew more and more interested in actually solving that problem for the neurosciences. And I had the opportunity to, after my graduate work, to work with Brian Litt and Zach Ives at the University of Pennsylvania to develop solutions for data management, at first in epilepsy research. And as we were doing that, more and more people became interested in using our platform for other things. And we realized that if we really wanted to make a platform that was broadly adopted and had the kind of performance and security and usability that you would expect from an enterprise-ready platform, we had to take that out of the university and build a company around that.
So what does that solution look like? Like what have you guys incorporated in this that was lacking before?
So I think that there are a number of differences between an academic solution and an enterprise solution. And one of them is that one of the eye-opening things that I had was that design is so important for making a product that works, that people want to use, instead of a product that has maybe the functionality, but people don't adopt because it is either unintuitive, or it's complicated, or it's too rigid in the way that people can use it. And so bringing in a design team and bringing in software engineers that have a lot of experience in large data, in high performance platforms, building all the support around that, have kind of 24/7 support, is one of the main differences that I see between academia and the things that we do in industry.
Okay, cool. So basically, you're almost like standardizing some of this data so that it can be transferred between labs and other people can use it. Something like
that. And there's a big debate within the sciences how to approach that, right? Do we create data standards first and then say like everybody should capture their data in that standard and then can easily share it across everybody? Or do we allow people to upload their data and in their native format, the way that they organize their data in the lab? But can we build smart platforms around that so that we can map between these different data sets? And that is kind of our approach. And we believe that kind of minimizes the friction for using a platform like ours. So we don't tell people to change their entire scientific workflow to use our platform. We build our platform in a smart enough way that we can fit right in.
Okay, cool. So basically a lab would just say, hey, we want to get some extra data before we actually do some other experiments. What has been some feedback that you've gotten so far?
We've had a lot of very interesting feedback. We're at the point where we are starting to really put our platform to use, and people are actually starting to use our platform for their daily scientific workflows. And the interesting thing is that I'm very excited that we're at that point where we can do that. And obviously there are still a lot of walls that people are running into, and those are mostly related around workflow. For example, we are working with a number of groups with the NIH Spark project, and we just had over the last couple of months the first time where we had workshops to bring people in and say like, okay, let's actually put your data in there. And what we never developed for is that somebody goes in and drags 20,000 files in the web browser and says like, and is then surprised that doesn't work right away. And so for us, those are kind of the things that we're hitting right now, that people are using the platform in different ways than we originally intended. And the solution for that is partly education, partly feedback in the platforms that, for example, like, hey, if you really want to upload that many files, maybe you should use our client our command line interface and do that programmatically rather than trying to do that in a web browser. And so we're learning a lot from these things, and that goes back into kind of a development process in new designs to guide users to kind of like use our platform in a more intuitive way.
Yeah, that's something I noticed for like Dropbox and Google Drive. Like sometimes, dragging into the web browser is not a good thing. It's better to have the client run it.
Yeah, and I think that, so, and this is one of the things that we see a lot is that we don't just make a platform for computer scientists by computer scientists. We make a platform that will be used by clinicians, by data scientists that want to maybe programmatically access that data, and for people that are running experiments that need to get data into the platform in an efficient and performant way. And so these are all different use cases, and we need to tailor to all of them. And so understanding how people want to use the platform is vitally important to make it work.
And then before we were also talking about the incentive structure and getting people to actually share the data. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Sure. So as you know, since 2003, the NIH has a data sharing mandate, which basically means that if you get funding from the NIH, you need to have a plan in place to share that data with the larger scientific community. That hasn't been so successful in certain areas, and we can definitely do better than what we're doing now. And one of the reasons is that it's been approached in many ways typically as a mandate. That is, you need to do this after you do your research. You need to spend extra effort to put it in an archive that then is available to other users. But typically that is very hard for the investigator because they don't get anything out of it, right? So they know that they need to put effort into something and that other people might use it, but how does that benefit them? And so what we talked about is that if we can change that around to make a platform that is very useful for the individual investigator, and oh, by the way, it's very easy to share data, is a very different kind of way of approaching the same problem. And we expect that people are much more open to data sharing than we actually expect because one thing is that when I talk to people, it's not that people don't want to share that data, it's that they don't want to share data with people that they don't want to share data with. And typically that means that, they don't like this idea that they lose track of their data. So if we can change infrastructure around so people can track who is interested in their data and really use technology to foster collaboration, I think people are much more open to kind of make their data available or make their data at least findable for future collaborations.
Yeah, and what they talked about today in one of the talks too was it would be like almost a different form of citation, and you'd not only have an H index, but you'd also have, like how much data sharing do you have, and
right.
You could get pressure from the tenure committee, right, to like, hey, you haven't shared enough data.
Absolutely, and we've been talking with my academic hat on, we've been talking for a number of years of implementing an S index, the sharing index, and so that will be one way to kind of like create incentive for people to share their data, but also to recognize that people who generate data, that there's a lot of effort that goes into that and they should be rewarded for that. And I know that the NIH is working with a lot of universities on kind of figuring out how can we make something like this be part of a tenure track qualification. And so this is a long-term goal and a long-term project, but I think that there is we're making some progress towards something.
Have Google Scholar display the S index also.
For example, or at least have data be citable, have a DOI on data sets when you publish them, and things like that.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So what's next? What's in your sights for the next few years?
Next few years.
Few months or next few
So
years,
yeah, things are going pretty rapidly.
Where do you see yourself in 50 years?
Right. In 50 years, we have solved everything. Now, where I would love to go as a community is that data sharing or data management is a challenge of the past, and that is a trivial thing, that people don't have to worry about it. There are tools out there that just do that. And that part of that is what we do as Blackfynn. There are other companies who are doing a great job as well. And I think that we can get there over the next 5, 6, 7 years. For us as a company, it's very interesting to see that the challenges that we are trying to solve in academia are the same challenges that some of the biotech companies face and some of the pharmaceutical companies face and the the implantable device companies. And so working not only with the academic side, but also working with industry partners to really develop platforms and develop infrastructure so we can make clinical trials more efficient and accelerate our path towards better cures for neurological diseases. So this is what we're focusing on within Blackfynn.
Excellent. Anything that I didn't ask that I should have asked? Anything else that you want to add?
No, I can talk about this for a long time, and I'm sure we'll have many times to follow up. But I think that it's a very exciting time, not only for us, but I think for the entire field, where neural engineering starts to mature to the point where we can really start ramping up and accelerate the ways that we're doing things. And this meeting has been fantastic to see what is the cutting edge in terms of technology, in terms of software, and in terms of the things that people can do and scientific discoveries that are defining. So.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much.